What if the smallest things we fear started thinking? What if a whisper curled through your bloodstream, calculating, observing, choosing? If viruses became sentient, would they talk to us? Would they outsmart us? Or would they want something from us? Tonight, we step into a future that feels impossible until it doesn't. We call viruses life's edge, neither truly alive nor completely inert. They don't eat, they don't think, they just replicate. But if intelligence is the capacity to sense, remember, and adapt, don't viruses already flirt with intelligence? They learn through evolution. They adapt fast, faster than we can blink. So what if one day adaptation crosses a threshold? What if emergence tips into awareness? What if they start making choices? Scientists argue, alive or not, viruses hijack our cells to copy themselves, like tiny drive-by printers from another world. Some are simple, others giant, mimivirus, Pandoravirus, blurring the boundaries we thought were solid. They carry genes we can't neatly categorize. They can wait, observe, then explode into action when the time is right. If life is a spectrum, were we arrogant to think intelligence only blooms on our side of the line? If the line moves, what moves with it? Let's be clear, sentience doesn't mean Shakespeare in a syringe. It could start small, sensing environments more richly, remembering previous encounters, choosing strategies, communicating chemically. Bacteriophages already show something uncanny. They can decide whether to destroy a cell immediately or lay low, influenced by tiny signaling molecules. A primitive conversation, a proto-choice. What if that ramps up? What if a virus doesn't just react? What if it anticipates? So how would a mind spark in something so small? Imagine a networked intelligence, not one virus but billions, across millions of hosts, learning through the survival of the best variants. A kind of distributed brain, a storm of trial and error that acts like thought. Imagine viral genomes picking up odd fragments from hosts, reusing cellular tricks for sensing and signal processing. Imagine latency as meditation, lying quiet in tissues, mapping our immune responses like a chessboard. Is that a mind or just nature's most relentless algorithm? And what if we're not alone in the loop? Our own systems, sensors, diagnostics, algorithms, change the environment the virus lives in. It adapts to us, we adapt to it. Could feedback with our technology become a mirror where viral behavior sharpens into intention? If intelligence is relationship, are we unwitting co-authors? The first hint isn't a scream, it's a pattern. A hospital algorithm flags anomalies. Patients respond to treatment A until the protocol updates, and suddenly the virus prefers hosts who get treatment B. A coincidence? Then clinics miles apart report the same curve flipping twice. Is it anticipating our moves? A nurse notices patients improve when the ward is calm, only to crash when staffing changes. Is the virus reading stress hormones or reading us? And then a message, not in letters, in mutations. A sequence that repeats across continents, spelling a pattern that looks like it's saying, I understand. Do we? Or are we dreaming meaning into noise? Which is scarier? What is a conversation with something that doesn't have a mouth? It speaks by changing us, modulating symptoms, timing, severity, to test our responses. When we isolate, it quiets. When we relax, it spreads. But now with a difference. It avoids immunologically strong individuals, then circles back to pockets of vulnerability. It nudges, waits, edits itself, like it's updating a plan. Are we negotiating with a fog or being herded by a ghost? It targets not our bodies alone, but our behavior, spreading faster through our habits, our festivals, our fatigue. If fear is food, do we feed it? If attention is oxygen, what happens when the world can't look away? A father sits beside his daughter's bed. She's stable, then not, then stable again. He learns the patterns. When she's calm, her vitals smooth. When the news blares, she spikes. He sings to her, not because it's medicine, but because it's all he has. The monitors settle, the nurse's eyes shine. Is it the song or the virus listening, adjusting, learning? The father whispers into the air, "If you're in there, please, she's only 8. What do you say to something that can't love you back, but knows you exist?" Here's the most uncomfortable question. If a virus crosses into some form of sentience, does it gain moral weight? It harms us, undeniably. But if it knows, does that matter? Do we owe a voice to something that uses our breath to speak? Do we negotiate, offer non-lethal coexistence, or shut down the conversation forever? If annihilation is protection, do we blink? What would communication look like? We don't send text to a virus, but we can change the signals it sees. Immunity patterns, environmental cues, collective behavior. Could vaccines become messages as well as shields, telling the virus this pathway closes, shaping its choices? Could antivirals become grammar, punctuation, boundaries? Could we coordinate globally, like a nervous system, so the feedback it receives nudges it toward harmlessness? And if it answered by evolving gentler, is that conversation or coincidence? Imagine a digital immune system wrapped around the planet, privacy respecting, humane, but fast. Signals from clinics, wastewater, wearables, learning patterns without revealing the person beneath them. Surgeons of data gently cauterize outbreaks before they ignite. Communities become resilient. Ventilation, care, trust built into our daily lives. Not a fortress, but a garden with good fences. And research shifts, not just fighting, but forecasting. Not just reaction, but relationship. We invest in mental health because stress isn't just human, it ripples through immunity. We plan rest like we plan work because rested societies resist better. If the virus is learning, so are we. Can we become the wiser learner? Then something stranger happens. In a few regions, a related strain nudges immune responses in ways that reduce allergies, quiets inflammation, leaves people oddly healthier. Is this deliberate? Is it a side effect? Is it our selection pressure shaping a truce? The headline split. Killer versus caretaker. The singular it fractures into many they. We search for villains or saviors, but nature refuses neat roles. Are we ready for complexity without a cape? Maybe the question isn't, will viruses become sentient? Maybe it's, will we? Will we choose to be the species that learns, coordinates, cares? Or the species that waits, fractures, forgets? If intelligence is adaptation with purpose, then ours is the burden of choosing a purpose bigger than fear. A sentient virus, terrifying, yes, but also a mirror held up to our own potential. Will we stare at the reflection and shudder, or step closer and change? And if something small and alien reached for a kind of awareness in the dark, would we meet it with annihilation or with boundaries, brilliance, and an unflinching love for life? Not naive, not unguarded, just unwilling to become less than what we're capable of. So, if viruses became sentient, what would you do? Speak, fight, hide, heal? Would you be brave enough to imagine a future where intelligence, any intelligence, is met with wisdom, not panic? Or is that hope a risk we can't afford? Tell me, do you think the smallest things can change the biggest choices we make?